Recording live from a gas station bathroom because that's the only place I could get Wi-Fi. This is That One Time in Rehab podcast with Craig Tasman.
Welcome to That One Time in Rehab podcast, coming live from my dining room. Yep. So we've got a good show for today, but first I want to tell you guys a story. So everywhere on the news or like reading or anyone I talk to, everyone talks about how great mushrooms are and how it's saving people with depression and helping with anxiety, and it's saving lives and doing all these amazing things. I've only had one experience with mushrooms. Let me tell you guys my experience. So let's set the mood or set the scene here. I was living in Boynton Beach, in the hood. It was like off Woolbright, right by 95, and it was me, my two cousins, and my aunt. Now, my aunt's been like sober for 20 something years, and she works in recovery. And she at the time too, and me, Matthew, and Mikey we were just terrible drug addicts. They're gonna hate me for even mentioning them on this, but it was bad. And we it was the three of us, and we did drugs together, and we starved from hunger together. I don't know how my aunt lived with us, but so one night she was at work until like midnight. So I'm like, all right, we got the house. Mikey comes home from work, and he's got like, I don't know how you weigh mushrooms. I know they're in grams. I know he gave us, we had a pretty good sized bag, and I whatever you give me, I'm gonna eat it all. So I ate it all. Mikey didn't eat enough, I guess, so nothing happened to him. And I'm in my room. You gotta my room at this time is there's a mattress on the floor. There's a shotgun in there somewhere, and I had some clothes and stuff, but that was it. So I'm in that room. The lights are off. I'm starting to feel really weird. Next thing I know is my cousin Matthew comes in the room acting like he was saying he was a troll, and he was like hiding in the corner of the room and then coming around the bed and like talking like a troll. I was freaking out. Finally, after he stopped, and I'm like shaking at this point, then my aunt who comes home, and I don't want my aunt to see me high on mushrooms, and plus like she's sober and stuff, and I don't want her seeing me like this. So I'm hiding in that room, and Matthew keeps coming in every like 10, 20 minutes pretending he's a troll. It's the worst night of my life. So that's my story with mushrooms. Fucking troll. So let's go into the news today. Here are some current events. First one. Sha'Carri Richardson, United States gold medal favorite, suspended 30 days for THC. We'll get into the emotional part after, but so she got hit on a drug test by USADA. They're the United States Anti-Doping Agency. They do all the drug tests for like, the Olympics and all the major sports. And there's people are crying out about this, but is marijuana a performance enhancer? No, absolutely not. There's no one's gonna smoke weed and run faster. It doesn't work like that. If anything, it would have the opposite effect. It might slow you down. I mean, show me a scientific study that shows that weed will increase how fast you are. You'll have even more people smoking weed, but that's not the case. But with that being said, she knew it was the rules. Like, say for instance, if I go for a job interview, or go for a job, and I'm asked to take a piss test. If I test positive for pot, they're not going to give me the job. If I'm at my job and I get hit with a random drug test and I test positive for pot, I'm done. That's but we know that's the rules. They may be stupid, but it is what it is. So that's how I feel about that. Kind of indifferent, but I mean, you got to figure too. She was a gold medal favorite in the Olympics. Now, if someone on like the Russian Olympic team gets hit with like they get caught smoking weed or something like that, they'll probably end up killing the person. So it's different because it's it's for the nation in the Olympics. But I mean, you should know better. But let's get into the emotional part. Here's what when we bring in what she said. She used weed as a way to cope with the death of her mother. She learned of the death of her mother in an interview. And then that's the only. I mean, she said I didn't know how to control any emotions or deal with my emotions or deal with my emotions at the time. That's sad. I mean, I get that part, but I mean, if they allow her to get by with that, then it's just gonna keep happening until they just like the UFC. USADA doesn't test for marijuana. I could be wrong about who's testing them, but USADA doesn't test UFC fighters from. They don't test for marijuana anymore. If you remember, Nick Diaz was suspended for a bunch of years from hitting like two positive pot tests, THC tests, marijuana tests, whatever you want to call it. They stopped testing for it. And I bet you that's what they'll do next in the Olympics. But until they do that, it is what it is. Sorry, Shikari. Next, we have the reason I'm doing this one is my little brother used to be obsessed with this guy, Tyler Tasman. Loved this guy. I even bought him a guitar, and he played guitar like this guy. Drake Bell. This isn't a laughing matter. Drake Bell. He was on Drake and Josh on Nickelodeon. He always came by a little creepy to me because even as like I grew older, he still looked like he stayed the same. As he's walking around fucking Disney World every 2 weeks, but he got 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service for sexual abuse that started at the age of, grooming from the age of 12, sexual abuse starting at the age of 15 with the girl she's got panic attacks now and nightmares of it. Her parents have spent $7,000 on therapy trying to get her help. The judge ruled that she is not old enough for consent. This guy's a fucking child predator. I mean, started grooming at the age of when people are like grooming children or grooming anybody, that's when you know like they're really fucked. Like this guy Drake Bell, I guarantee you, he'll probably end up doing it again because you got 2 years probation for a child sex charge, and he doesn't even have to register as a offender. Now, if Drake Bell was some poor dude with a public defender, that wouldn't be the case. That's why you got these rich guys like Drake Bell and owners of these treatment centers who can go and be predators and pieces of shit because they have the money and they can hide behind their attorneys. This poor girl's gonna. His 2 years probation is going to be so much easier than the therapy and the emotional pain that this poor girl is going to deal with for the rest of her life. I mean, she was 12 years old when this started. What a dick. Fuck this guy. Drake Bell, all right. Sorry, Tyler. Next up, we've got, there's a good transition here. Drake Bell, the child predator, fucking sexual predator, into our story. We're doing the story a little differently today. So here it goes. I was kidding. For attorneys, the following is not based on true events, not based on real people. It is all alleged events that have possibly have or have not have happened. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into today's story. This is a depressing one. So this girl was, she says, about 24 to 25 years old, and she went to treatment because she was extremely traumatized from sexual abuse she had endured her entire life by a very close family member, and she ended up turning to drugs. So she goes to treatment, hoping to work on that trauma, get off drugs, and become a productive member of society, just like the rest of us. Within a few days of being there, she got involved with a male client, which, it wasn't too out of the ordinary, just your typical rehab romance. Um, there was a few therapists that were at this facility. There was the male therapist who was in charge. He demanded to be her therapist because he wanted to work with her through her sexual trauma. It doesn't sound right off the bat, but that's what he wanted to do. So he learned that she was seeing this male client. He begged her to stop. He pleaded with her, telling her, it's going to kill her. Basically, almost got on his hands and knees and begged her to stop dating this guy. And then he snuck her phone out of her client belongings so she can have a phone in treatment, and that way he could text her. over the next couple days, he was texting back and forth with her, and he was trying to get her to leave treatment to celebrate his birthday with him. Um, in the text, that's what he said. He also said that, say that there's a family member coming to pick you up, and then I'll come get you. He didn't know that she was still dating the client, so she backs out. She felt pressured the entire time. Her intention was never to go with him or do that. She was pressured. I mean, he was, an authoritative figure over her. So usually, what would happen is the boyfriend of this girl would usually be kicked out or whatnot, but he had good insurance and he was almost 30 days sober. So the male therapist, we'll call him the leader, uh, gave the guy a job and put him up in an apartment so that way he wouldn't be on site with her, but that way he could still bill the guy's insurance. Well, within one night of that happening, the male client, the boyfriend, passed away from an overdose his first night in that apartment. You don't put somebody with 30 days sober in an apartment and give them a job immediately. You just don't do that. Now, this girl was obviously distraught, and she wasn't. They wouldn't allow her to go to the funeral. They wouldn't give her permission to leave treatment to go attend his funeral. The day after the funeral, this girl finds out she's pregnant. So at this point, the leader sees his way back in. He goes to the girl and he tries to convince her with everything he has to have an abortion. She's on the fence. She's back and forth. He's doing everything he can to convince her to have the abortion because that's his way back in. Now his competition's passed away. As long as he gets rid of this baby, he's good to go. Now, unfortunately for him, fortunately for her, she decides to keep the baby. She doesn't want to have the abortion, and she gets the fuck out of there alive with the baby in tow. Happy ending for her. Unfortunately for another woman, it's going to get worse in the next episode. All right, well, that's our show for today. Real quick, look at the shirt. They are on sale now at onetimeinrehab.com. Also, that's where our website is. You can contact me. You can do anything on that website. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. Go to the website, onetimeinrehab.com. Anyways, good show today. Good show. Takes forever to produce these freaking things. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please visit the website, onetimeinrehab.com. Also, subscribe on the video on YouTube or Facebook if that's where you're watching it. Please, 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 please. Other than that, love you guys. Have a good one.